Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Masters with Harshad podcast. Today we have with us Mukur Gupta, who is currently my batchmate at the Columbia's MSCS program. Hi, Mukur. Thank you, and welcome to the episode.
Thank you so much, Harshit, and thanks for having me. It's an absolute pleasure.
Awesome. So, Mukur, over the last couple of episodes, the people we've spoken to are people from computer science going into computer science degrees, and that is usually the traditional way it happens, right? So, I think the reason a lot of people will find this episode very interesting is someone from a non-circuit branch, so something that is not electrical, electronics, computer science, moving to a moving to a CS degree, CS masters rather. So, Mukul, what is your background and what did you do in your undergrad?
Yeah, sure. So, as you said, I come from a non-circuital undergrad background. I did my BTech in Manufacturing Science and Engineering in Department of Mechanical Engineering back in 2021. Uh, After that, I spent a couple of years in industry uh, as in the data science team at Gartner, and parallelly, I've also been involved closely with academic research, and I had a few relevant internships during my undergrad as well. We can discuss more about that as we go along.
For sure, for sure. So, Mukul, what made you pursue your master's? So, you were already a data scientist, right? And probably that is what you want to do after you complete a degree or like a machine learning role. So, what made you pursue your master's?
Yeah, sure. That's a good question, actually. I think same kind of question a lot of aspiring students would be asking. I think I had master plans for pursuing masters even during my undergrad as well. But I think they got reinforced when I spent some time at the industry.
Hmm.
The reason being twofold, actually.
Okay.
One, uh, for a lot of students coming from a non-circuital or non-CS undergrad, a lot of applied research or product-based teams have a strict requirement, which you don't essentially get an entry to. So, firstly, a master's in computer science gives you an access to those innovation-centric teams,
Makes
and
sense.
with an additional access to US market, which you won't get when you are based out of India, right? Uh, Secondly, I feel that we specifically, Harshit, are placed in an unique era of computer science and AI specifically, and
Right.
the kind of skill set I wanted to obtain was not cannot be optimally found in industry. It can only be obtained, I think, in an academic environment
Right. Right.
with the curriculum. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that makes sense, right? So a lot of the current cutting edge technologies, it's very hard to produce that right from industry. You need an academical background and like some academia side also to like do stuff. It makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. And adding on to that, I mean, industry won't always have your learning at as their top priority, right? They have
Correct.
bucks to make. And while in
Absolutely.
academia, you can focus on your own skill set and the kind of, I mean, research goals or whatever goals you're pursuing. You can focus on that.
Makes sense. That makes sense. So, Mukur, was it difficult for you to transition from a non-CS degree to a CS degree? Like, what did you do in college that helped you, ease your path? Did you like take particular courses? And like, so when was it that you realized that you do not want to do manufacturing as an undergrad and you wanted to slowly pivot? So, and what was that journey like?
Yeah. So I think the first few things started back in my second year itself.
Hmm.
So I think to give a perspective for students who are at different levels, uh, I think start with students who are just starting their undergraduate. Uh,
Right.
so right in my second year, I at the end of my second year, I did an internship at a startup, which was around which was using applied machine learning techniques to real life business products,
Hmm.
which helped me gain a perspective and kind of pivoted me towards this and pivoted me away from my department, uh,
Right.
which was followed by taking some additional courses, electives in the maths department, CS department. Ultimately, at the end of my third year, I did an internship again at an Indian unicorn, but
Mm-hmm.
which was more research focused. So that was when I first realized how applied research solutions can give result to business use cases.
Right.
Uh, a research paper also came out of that internship. Following that was my bachelor thesis with a
Mm-hmm.
computer science prof. Uh, that also gave me a flavor of computer science research.
Right.
So yeah, for people who are currently in their colleges, I would recommend explore data science, AI systems, whatever you're interested in through various internship programs during your summers. Engage in active research with the professors at your own colleges. That would add up to your profile. That would give you perspective of what you are interested in. And thirdly, and quite importantly, if you're looking to apply for masters, would also give you right set of story points and recommendation letters from the right set of people. Uh, Following my undergrad, I joined Gartner in their recommendation teams,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which was again very relevant to what I wanted to pursue, and also added up with my previous background, which I think kind of weaved into a nice story when I wrote my SOP.
Right.
And parallelly, apart from my job, I was also involved in two research stints. One, I was working with the same my bachelor thesis professor on a research paper,
Mm-hmm.
which we have recently submitted to a conference. And second, I was also working with a lab at MIT on a different research stint. So yeah, so to answer your question, if you are in your undergrad, you can, as I said, pursue
Take
internships or
courses.
different
Right.
take courses and engage in active research. If you are in your final year, let's say, or if you are already graduated and looking to apply in the next cycle, which would
Mm-hmm.
be November, December, January,
Right.
I think you have enough time to start research right now if you
Mm-hmm.
haven't done so. Reach out to professors from your institute, reach out to professors not from your institute, but the areas you are interested in. Do a thorough background research, read their papers, pick out points that pick out potential improvements. I mean, you'll have to reach out to a lot of professors. You can
Absolutely.
engage in research in a part-time fashion along with your job or with your final year. And I know a few friends who have also, I mean, I don't know if that would be recommended, but I also know a few friends who have left their jobs and engaged in a full-time research associate position in several labs in India. And after that, they've applied for master or PhD programs.
Absolutely, that makes sense. So, Mukur, I want to dissect this and like go piece by piece, right? So,
Yeah.
you said after second year you did an internship. That makes sense. So, did you start picking up courses outside, like in math and CS, only in your third year? Is that correct to say?
I was picking up electives from my second year, but yeah, that
Okay.
intensified more in third year and fourth year.
Intensified more in third year. Got it. So I think it also goes up to the college's flexibility to allow you to pick up courses outside. So what kind of courses were you in general picking up? Were they only machine learning, or did you also do base courses like basic courses like operating systems, data structures, databases, object-oriented programming? What were those like?
Most of the courses that I picked up from outside mechanical were from maths department or maths
Hmm.
oriented CS department, like
Okay,
linear algebra, probability statistics, uh, AI, and yeah, more at the intersection of maths and ML.
got it, got it. That makes sense. So, Mukur, when you were applying, so a lot of people typically have the issue that they haven't done research in college. So you were mentioning that you were doing two parallel things when you were working as well, right? So how did you reach out to the professor at MIT or like your professor at university itself? So the university professor obviously gets a lot of emails asking them for like potential collaboration. So what did you do that you think helped you stand out from the crowd, and like how did that work?
Yeah, so I think with firstly with the professor that at my own university at IIT Kharagpur, I had done bachelor thesis with him,
Right.
so I already had a connection. So
Makes
when I
sense.
reached out to him about working on another research problem, that was not quite an hassle.
Right.
On the other hand, the one at MIT, yeah, you are absolutely bang on the point that these professors reach have get a lot of emails about potential collaboration.
Right.
So I think the key is about the background research. You
Mm-hmm.
have to thoroughly research about the professor, their focus areas, their recent their recent research papers,
Right.
and make a point that these are the research papers that I found very interesting, and these are the potential improvements that I propose. So
Okay,
specifically
got it.
with the collaboration that I got from MIT, it wasn't the professor I was seeking; it was a
Mm-hmm.
particular research area that I was researching in at
Right.
that particular
Right.
time. So it was not the professor. I mean, it was the other way around actually.
Got
Me
it.
researching on a research area, I prepared a draft paper and then sent across that draft paper to a couple of professors at different places. This particular professor at MIT responded back that we can potentially look for a collaboration.
Right. I think that's a very good approach you're talking about, right? Instead of just cold emailing professors and telling them, hey, I want to work with you. If you come up with like, you read their papers, you tell them that, hey, this is what I want to precisely work on, and I think you can add value there. And I think that's like a better way to go about with it. Thank you,
Yeah,
Mukur. That makes a lot of
yeah,
sense.
yeah,
So moving on. So when you were applying for the MSCS degree, did you have to fill out a bunch of requirements? So I remember in a couple of my applications. So since I come from a CS degree, it wasn't an issue for me. But I've heard that certain other individuals from other undergrad degrees have an issue. For example, like they ask you they precisely ask you your grade in OOPS, your grade in DBMS. So when you were applying for your masters, I'm assuming they were all MS and CS degrees itself. So did you have that issue? Where else did you apply, and like what was the whole process like?
yeah. That's a very good question, Harshit, actually, because coming from non-CS undergrad degree, you have to do a very thorough research about all the programs. I think
Right.
there are two kind of research that you need to do. First, on surface level, as in the requirements that are needed from the program.
Hmm.
There are at few places you'd see strict requirements that they won't allow non-CS undergrads.
Right.
They are very few in number though. And
Okay.
second, on the lines of what you mentioned, they have a strict requirement on the courses. They
Hmm.
require a course in operating systems. They require a course in OOPS, etc., etc.
Correct. Correct.
Uh, so specifically, I think I remember from my time, UT Austin and UCB and a couple of other colleges had this requirement. So I ended up not applying to those colleges at all because
Absolutely.
I
That
knew
makes
I
sense.
would get a desk reject right off the bat
Correct.
before they even look at my profile. So
Right.
that is one thing that I would strongly recommend everyone doing. And secondly, one thing that I did, I specifically remember with UI UC MCS program was uh, I cleared all the courses except the OOPS course. I
Hmm.
didn't have OOPS course in my transcript, so I specifically went ahead and did an online certification for that, and so that I could apply. But looking back, I won't recommend doing that to anyone because that
Okay.
usually doesn't matter. I mean, online
Got it.
certification usually won't count.
Got
Second
it.
kind of research that I would recommend doing is, apart from surface level, go on to LinkedIn, look at the historical records of what kind of profiles have been accepted into that school. Uh,
Right.
that would require reaching out to a lot of people. That would require looking at a lot of profiles. And I think that would also require looking at your channel for different
Absolutely.
videos.
Right. Thank you. Right.
Yeah,
So I think
so I think
right.
you can
Yeah.
draw out a pattern of for each school.
Right.
For example, Stanford, Berkeley, UIUC, MSCS program, they have very less probability of admitting students coming from non-CS, non-circuital undergrad,
Right.
who exceptionally do not have very strong research
Correct.
backgrounds.
Correct. Correct. So, Mukur, so how many research papers did you have at the time of applying? That's the first question. And like published and like under work or whatever. And second is where all did you apply, given that you could not fulfill those subject course requirements in your transcript?
Sure. Answering the first question, I had one paper at that time, which
Hmm.
wasn't at some top tier conference, and I had two paper under review and a patent under review at the time of my application, which I also mentioned in my SOP. Uh,
Right.
and what was the second question? Yeah, where all did I apply? Okay,
Correct.
so I don't remember the entire list. Let me
Sure.
tell you the ones at the top of my head. Uh,
Right.
so typically, the process of shortlisting would end you up with three buckets: ambitious universities, moderate
Correct.
universities, and safe
Safe.
universities.
Right.
Uh, I think I had UCLA, UCSD,
Hmm.
uh, CMU, Georgia Tech, I think a couple of more in the ambitious
That should be
ones.
fine. That should be fine. You can probably have a look later and like send it to me, and I'll
Yeah,
just add
yeah,
that in the comments so that people who are
absolutely.
applying. So all of these
Yep.
you're saying did not have the requirement that you need to have a CS undergrad and all that stuff, right? So these were right. So
Yeah,
where
yeah,
all
and so sorry to cut you off. So the
all right.
program requirements changes year to year. So I would recommend going
Oh,
on the
okay. That's
program
a
page and having
right.
a yeah,
Good.
yeah,
Thank you. Thank you. That's a good catch. I did not know about that. So if you're watching this and at the time of recording, so Mukur had applied for fall 23 batch. So if you guys are applying for fall 24, please do not blindly go and apply. Check out the requirements again, and then you guys can like think about applying. So Mukur, if you're comfortable sharing, so what kind of admits did you have other than Columbia? So just so that it gives people an idea to gauge where a person from a
yeah,
non-CS background can go.
yeah, sure. In CS, I had admits from University of Massachusetts, University of Chicago, and
Right.
I had also applied to DS program in UMich.
Got it.
So
Got it.
in US, I had these four admits.
Makes sense. Makes sense. That's cool. So Mukur, moving on, how much is your program at the Columbia costing, and like how are you funding it?
Okay, sure. So Columbia is one of the expensive programs in the country. Uh,
Right.
yeah, you would know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So let me start by giving a brief overview on the structure of the program so that I can better explain the
Absolutely.
tuition and how it's bifurcated.
For sure.
So at Columbia, we are required to complete 3 semesters, and we are required to complete 30 credits by the end of our third semester. Each course in CS department typically is of 3 credits. There are a few exceptions in non-CS department, but in CS department there are typically of 3 credits. So typically you are completing 10 courses in total in 3 semesters. Four courses in first 2 semesters. That is 8 courses in first year, and 2 courses in your third semester. You pay for every credit you take at Columbia as part of your tuition fee. Each credit would cost you around ballpark 2.3, 2.4K. Is that right, Harshit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Around that? Yeah. So each course would essentially cost you around 7.2, 7.3K dollars. And hence the whole semester would essentially be around 29,000, $30,000
Correct.
in total. Uh, yeah, am I missing something? I don't think. Okay, I think that's it, right?
The base tuition, yeah, that's the base
Yeah,
tuition
base
rate per
tuition.
semester,
Yeah,
the first 2 semesters. Third semester is a little lesser because we do not have all the credits. We're
yeah,
taking 12, 12, and 6. So that's like
yeah,
half the thing. However, we have all those heavy medical insurance and this and that expenses, which add up to like $5,000, $6,000 every semester.
yeah,
So that's like another thing, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah. So yeah, ballpark around 30,000, 31,000 for the tuition fees and additional 4,000, I think, for as you
right,
mentioned, around external fees and insurance and other costs.
correct.
Uh, so of those, I covered. I mean, for the first semester, I paid the entire tuition fees, and for the second semester, I've got this graduate research assistant position in an NLP lab at Columbia, which covers my tuition fees entirely. Uh,
Got it.
so yes.
So, Mukur, can you talk about this graduate research assistant position a little? Because a lot of times, a lot of students are hesitant to apply to universities like Columbia and CMU because they're too expensive. So even when I was talking in one of the previous episodes to Shreya from Stanford, she was talking about how she did not receive any scholarship beforehand, but after she got there, she started speaking to professors, and then one by one, all of her quarters, I think, not semesters, terms or quarters, they were completely waived off. So she did not actually have to pay any tuition fee. So did you know about this graduate research assistantship or like GRA beforehand, or like did you get there and then you did stuff and then automatically it happened? What was that for you?
Yeah. So as you said, there are two parts to funding your education
Right.
at Columbia specifically. First, as you mentioned, there are scholarships which you can apply beforehand.
Hmm.
One thing that I would recommend is keep a tab on the scholarship deadlines. Some of the scholarship deadlines are even before the university deadlines, which I missed completely. I would recommend everyone to have a look at that. There are Amazon Science Scholarship, there are Tata Memorial, Aditya Birla funds you could leverage. And for specifically Columbia, there is Shardashi Scholarship,
Right.
which is specifically for Indians applying to Columbia. Uh, which is after you get the Columbia admit. So yeah, there are scholarship programs, and secondly, as you said, there is this GRA, with which you can partially or potentially completely fund your education at Columbia.
Right.
Yes, I knew about the GRA before coming to Columbia. I had this idea, from one of my seniors
Hmm.
about what the whole scheme is.
Right.
The thing is, there are a couple of intricacies when you are applying for GRA.
Right.
For intricacies when you are getting awarded the GRA, there are two things. Some of the things which are in your control and things which are not in your control. First thing,
Right.
you need to impress a professor enough to make them fund your tuition as well as stipend from their own grant money, which is
Makes
they are
sense.
funding $30,000 of your tuition fees and an additional $20,000 as stipend for the semester. Uh,
Right.
so they are basically, so a professor is basically spending $50,000 from their own grant money on a single graduate student.
Right.
So they must be impressed enough by you. They must believe in your background and your future capabilities to fund you that kind of money, which is very difficult to do in first semester itself. Uh, I essentially worked with a couple of professors during the semester on semester long research, uh, and one of the professor decided to uh, hire me as a GRA in the spring semester. So yeah, it's difficult to obtain in fall semester. Might be possible in spring. Second factor, which is not in your control, is the funding position of the professor themselves. You might be working with a professor, they might be impressed with you, but there might be a possibility that they don't have graduate funds with them right at this moment.
Right. Right.
So basically, you have to good do good work, do good quality research work, but at the same time, it has to meet with the
Both of
funding
them have
scenario
to
of the professor.
align.
Yeah,
Right. Both of them have to
exactly,
align. Makes sense.
exactly,
Makes sense.
exactly. Yeah.
Cool. That does make a lot of sense. So, Mukur, did you do anything differently while applying for your masters? Like, did you select certain kinds of projects, or like, did you, even at work, did you do anything differently because you knew you were applying for your masters?
Yeah, as I said, during my undergrad, during my final year, I had this plan of applying for MS at the back
Right.
of my head, but I think it got reinforced more during my time at the industry. Uh,
Hmm.
Even during my undergrad, even when I wasn't hellbent on applying for masters, I had an idea that I would be, I think, working
Somehow you would,
in,
right.
yeah, in the industry. So I was
Right.
aligning everything to that. But specifically when I decided to apply for masters, that was in I think late 2021. That was
Hmm.
when I reached out to my professor, my bachelor thesis professor for research stint, and the lab at MIT for pursuing the research projects. Yeah,
Right.
so I think that helped a lot building a story, building a case of why coming from a non-circuital background, but still doing a relevant job in the industry, and at the same time, a couple of good research projects helped me build a case. And also, I think you also have to worry about getting the right recommendation letters.
Right.
Uh, I think that also played
Correct.
a
So what was
part
that
in that.
like for you? So I think you need 2 to 3 recommendation letters, right? So one would probably be your bachelor thesis professor. And
Yeah,
who else were the other professors or the recommenders for you?
yeah. So we are required to submit 3 recommendations at most of the places, 4 recommendations at a few places.
Hmm.
One of the recommendation I took was from my bachelor thesis professor, who was from computer science department. So that worked out well, and I had worked on 2 research projects by then with him.
Right.
Second was from another professor in the maths department, whom I've closely worked with since my second year. I've taken a couple of courses. I've done casual research with him.
Hmm.
Third, I took my recommendation from the director of data science at Gartner, whom I've closely worked with
Right.
during my tenure at Gartner. Fourth optional, I took from my manager, immediate reporting manager at Gartner.
Got it.
So I could present a mix of both academia slash research and industrial experience.
Right. So Mukul, you worked for 2 years before applying for your masters, right?
No,
Got it.
I've at the time of application, the work
Yeah.
experience was 1.5 years.
Fair. Fair. Sure. Sure. So yeah. So, okay. So, Mukur, is there any other tip that you think would help a lot of the non-CS students in particular who want to apply for a CS degree, in addition to what we've already discussed?
Uh, well, I think summarize a couple of bullet points,
Absolutely.
which which would be important. Specifically, people who are in final year and who are already graduated, I'd say, and if you don't have any research background, I'd say look for research opportunities, and you have enough ample opportunity for the next cycle.
Right.
Reach out to professors, do a proper research. As you said, professors don't usually reply because they get bombarded with a lot of collaboration emails.
Right.
Do a proper background research of the professor, look at the recent research papers, their focus areas, look for a couple of points where you can contribute to, reach out to them about potential contribution, potential collaboration. You have enough time to even publish a good paper in the following year. That would add a lot to your profile and would also get you a good recommendation letter as well. Secondly, if you're already in college, I think you can already reach out to your own
CS
university
department
professors
or like,
in your
right.
in CS department for that should be easier to do rather than reaching out to external professors when you've already graduated. Second piece of advice is do a thorough research on the program requirements. Because if you think you have, let's say, you have less probability of getting into a very competitive CS department of some university,
Right.
uh, which has historical record of entering only CS undergrads or non-CS undergrads with high
Work
research bar.
experience.
You can
Correct.
probably
Right.
look at other interdisciplinary courses, programs, I think. That
Right.
is also a very good option. DS programs, I think you have already done a episode on that.
Correct.
Uh, there are BA programs, there are stats programs, which are very
Which have the
valuable in
same,
the
correct, which have
yeah
more or less the same uh, uh, trajectory, career
curriculum.
trajectory.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah, true, true.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. So, Mukur, I just want to like have to ask you one question that a lot of students, including me, had when we were in college, right? So, how did you uh, identify what research you wanted to do? So, if you have multiple professors, and like, so this was a problem with me and even my brother. So, when I was asking him to do research, he was like, I don't know what I want to do, and like, I don't know how to, talk to the professor about it because I have no idea about how to start. So what would your tip be? Because I think you're one of those people who've been on the podcast who's done like more research than than the general public usually does. So what was that like for you? Did you when you picked up your first project, like were you like, okay, this is what I'm going to work on for like forever, or like what was that for you?
So I think my research has been more interest driven, I think,
Okay,
and opportunity driven, I guess. Uh,
right.
I got an opportunity at end of my third year internship, which eventually led to a paper. During the internship, I explored a couple of ideas,
Mm-hmm.
which eventually led to to be very specific, I mean, I was researching on something called curriculum learning back in my internship, and during the exploration, I came across this field called federated learning, adversarial training, and this is what led me to build upon an experimental idea, with which I
Mm-hmm.
reached out to the lab at MIT, and
Got it.
the same thing. I think while working with the folks at MIT, there are a couple of threads which I got interested in as well. This is then what I pitched to the professors I'm working with right now at Columbia. So I think
Makes
it's
sense.
I think opportunity and interest driven, and that's
Right.
how I think my recommendation would be that I mean, you don't know what you are interested in, right, until you explore that. So
Correct. So pick
research
something
in
up and
initially.
like,
Yeah,
right, go on.
exactly. Research initially should be opportunity driven. If you are getting
Right.
an opportunity in a lab with some research with some professor, give it a try.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. Instead of like you searching for like what do you want to do, like wherever you get the opportunity, get in, get your hands dirty, figure out if that's what you want to do. If not, like explore like adjacent research areas, adjacent topics, because a lot of these subjects, like computer vision, NLP, they use more or less the same fundamentals. So if you can master one, you can move adjacent anywhere. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Thanks, Mukur.
totally.
Please. Sorry.
Yeah, so and to answer your second question on how to reach out to professors, I
Right.
think the kind of emails majority of emails that professors get is looking for collaboration. But
Right.
I think that's the wrong way of approaching this whole issue. I think
Okay.
the right way is to, I think, in my opinion, the right way is to read their research papers thoroughly and point out specific areas which you specifically liked. So they
Right.
know that you have dedicated time in researching them. And then also, I would say, what I usually do is I look for the papers who have cited those research papers.
Hmm.
So I get a perspective of where their research is being applied right now,
Right.
with
Right.
which I can generate my own ideas, and I can pitch that this is something that I can come up with. This is something I can propose as an extension
Right.
to
I
get
think,
things started.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's very interesting, right? So what you just mentioned. So it's not just the research they've done, but other research that has cited this research, so you know which direction's already headed in. So you can do something in a parallel or like a. Okay, that's super interesting. I'm pretty sure a lot of people will find that very interesting because I surely did. So, Mukur, just to wrap up the podcast, would you be comfortable sharing your GPA, your GRE, and your TOEFL score so that students have an idea on what to expect?
sure. I had a GRE of 326,
Mm-hmm.
169 in quant and 157 in verbal.
Right.
Uh, I gave IELTS
Okay.
8.5 on 9, and I had a GPA of 8.73, but I
Got it.
graduated the top of my class in my discipline in bachelor.
Got it. Got it. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. So I think that's all we had today, Mukur. Thank you so much for your time. This was super, super useful. I'm sure a lot of people who want to, slide from like other branches to do a master's in CS would find this very, very useful. And even those within CS also who actually want to take up research and are like confused on what to do, this would be a great episode for them. Thank you, Mukur.
Thank you so much, Arshit, for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. So, thank you everyone for watching this episode. If you want to know the entire A to Z process of how to apply abroad, do check out my masterclass link in the description. And that's all we have for today. Thank you. Yep. So,